Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching. Here's what I'm going to do today. Just a quick comparison. We have a Squier. This is a Jaguar, and it's the Classic Vibe. And I'm going to compare that with a Vintage Modified Squier Jaguar. So they're very similar guitars. This is my first time with hands-on a Vintage Modified Squier. I've had many Classic Vibes, mostly Strats and Telecasters. So this is going to be neat to take a look at these two Jaguars. This is also my first time with hands-on any Jaguar at all, so that'll be interesting. I'm not going to go over the features too much because I'm just not knowledgeable enough with Jaguars. I'm just going to get a look at my sort of initial impression with quality and playability. Let's see how the Vintage Modified compares to a Classic Vibe. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so here we go. We'll start with the headstock, and we see the Classic Vibe has the black Squier logo, and it says Jaguar, and it looks to be sort of a large Strat style headstock. So let's check out the Vintage Modified. Okay, there's the Vintage Modified, and we see it has the gold logo, which I prefer. It says Jaguar, about the same as the Classic Vibe. And it looks to be just a bit less of an aged tint on that neck and headstock. Overall, I'm going to say visually, I prefer the Vintage Modified, and I am a bit surprised by that. Now let's see the back of the headstock. Looks like they're using Kluson Deluxe style tuners, and those are great. They look and feel great. Let's check out the Classic Vibe. Okay, there's the Classic Vibe, and the tuners look to be the same. So overall, I'd say that's a tie. Now as we check out the neck a little further, this is the Classic Vibe, and it feels like sort of a medium C carve, and it has a nice feel, although I will say this is not the nicest feeling Classic Vibe I've had. It doesn't feel quite as glassy as the Strats and Telecasters, but it could be this example. Somebody may have given this a little sand or a Scotch-Brite, not too sure. Let's check out the Vintage Modified. Okay, there's the Vintage Modified, and it feels like the same carve, sort of a medium C, but this one feels better. It has that glassy Classic Vibe feel, and that's nice. I'm glad to see that. Now as we flip this over, we see the Vintage Modified has an unbound fingerboard, and the fretwork is really good. It feels up to Classic Vibe quality to me. And look at how dark that rosewood is. That is a nice feature. It looks nice and, well, it doesn't look dry, and it looks nice and dark. Let's check out the Classic Vibe. Okay, here's the Classic Vibe. We see the fingerboard doesn't look as dark. It may not be rosewood. If anything, it probably needs an oil. And I notice it has binding on the fingerboard. So this is likely the 70s version of this guitar. And it's kind of nice. I kind of like the block inlays, and I'm a big fan of fingerboard binding on Gibson style guitars. And I have to say, I prefer the Vintage Modified look as far as the fingerboard and the neck goes. It just looks nice and simple. The rosewood fingerboard looks darker, and I think the dot inlays suit a Jaguar just a little more, but that's personal preference. Now this has a skunk stripe, and as we follow it up, we see, of course, it's a bolt-on neck, and the neck pocket looks perfect. Let's check out the Vintage Modified. Okay, here's the Vintage Modified. Really nice skunk stripe in there as well. It is a bolt-on, and the neck pocket looks just as good, almost identical. So that's interesting. I'm surprised that the Vintage Modified quality seems to be up there with the Classic Vibe, so I'm impressed. Now I will say it looks like they're a little different color. I think this one is probably a surf green, whereas the other one, possibly Sonic Blue. Let me just pull them over here together, and you can see they're just a little different. I prefer this Vintage Modified body. For some reason, it feels like it's maybe just a little thicker and heavier, although I kind of doubt it. It makes me wonder why they make both of these guitars if they're that similar in quality. I don't see a huge difference. Now the Vintage Modified has a white pickguard, and it has Seymour Duncan designed pickups for what it's worth. Let's check out the Classic Vibe. Okay, there's the Classic Vibe, and the pickups do not say Seymour Duncan on them, so I will assume they're different. And it has a tortoiseshell pickguard. Now, I'm not a fan of tortoiseshell, so I'm going to give a point again to the Vintage Modified. Now the hardware, this is the Classic Vibe, and it looks really good to my eye. It's obviously chromed, it's not nickel plated, but the quality looks pretty good. Let's check out the Vintage Modified. Okay, there's the Vintage Modified, and I would say the hardware looks the same. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same. And the pots, they feel pretty good. Kind of cheap, but there's no play or anything in there. No real reason to complain. Let's check out the Classic Vibe. Yeah, the pots feel maybe a tiny bit better in the Classic Vibe. There's a bit more resistance when you turn the knobs. Not so much to be annoying. Let's check out these switches. Yeah, they feel pretty good. They're nice and tight. There's a bit of play in that middle one. Let's check out Vintage Modified. Okay, here's the Vintage Modified. They feel the same. I gotta think they'd be using the same hardware. Now I don't know what the body is. I will try to Google it. If I find it, I'll place it up in the video here. But I'll bet they're the same. It's obviously not going to be plywood. This is a higher end Squier. Nice body contour here. Let's check out Classic Vibe. Okay, here's the Classic Vibe. Same body contour. They definitely both feel good quality. I would think they're probably coming off the same line. So I guess that's it for comparison. I have to say, cosmetically and just the overall feel, I prefer the Vintage Modified. So by that, I'm surprised by that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to running these through the amp. I've never played a Jaguar, so bear with me. I won't run them through all the tones. Obviously, there's a lot of options here. So that's going to be fun, but I won't bore you with that in this video. Okay, let's check them out. Cheers.